Good evening. Welcome back in the room, everybody. Welcome to the Matters of the Mind podcast, the Mental Health Awareness Month edition, with your host, Alisa Aronathy Boston. We are on night 3, and we want to say thank you to everyone who has been tuning in thus far, who has been journeying with us through this week through various conversations related to mental health. And so, what is Matters of the Mind, if you're asking? Matters of the Mind is a place where people, professionals and non-professionals, come together and have candid conversations about various subject matters. What we do is we dive deep. We have unbiased, real conversations, right? So when you come into this space, be ready to hear the whole truth, nothing but the truth, right? From our perspectives. And so tonight, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about a subject matter that I think is vital when you get ready to make this big decision in your life, and that is to marry someone to have and hold through sickness and health, right? Before you make that final choice, sitting down with someone and having a space where you and your partner, your husband, your wife, can unpack some of the things that you may not have been able to do by yourself during the dating period. So being able to sit down with a therapist gives you that space. I'm super excited about who we have with us here tonight. Dr. Solomon, she is multifaceted. She does so many different things. And I'm going to welcome her into the room so that she can introduce herself to you all tonight. Welcome, Dr. Solomon.
Hello, good evening, and welcome back once again. Listen, we are going to have a phenomenal time tonight speaking about this much anticipated subject, and this is a must. This is
Yeah.
a must, right? We are in Mental Health Awareness Month, and this is a month because relational health is very important, right? And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm an assistant professor of social work, the MSW program at St. Joe's University in Patchogue. In addition to that, I do have a private practice, elevated perspectives, consultation services. There you will find me serving as a therapist to couples, individuals, groups, doing the type of nitty gritty work, right? We need to do, especially in regards to what we're talking about tonight. I also have just started a 501c3 chosen generation, and it's really to eradicate intergenerational trauma. And we're going to talk about how intergenerational trauma really can be passed down through our core beliefs, and it can impact the way we love and receive love. And lastly, I have a phenomenal women's mentoring program, Elevated Visionaries. We just started another subset, Elevated Visionettes, for college age women. And we are empowering, right? We're empowering them through the 8 dimensions of wellness, which includes relational wellness. So I'm quite sure some of them will be on tonight because this is one of the areas that we cover. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, I love what I do, and I feel really blessed to be able to train the next leaders of therapists.
Thank you so much. I told you I'm multifaceted. Is doing such a great work in the community. And I don't even have to ask you really what does this mean to you, right? We could go straight into asking the first question.
Come
So
on.
the first question I want to ask you, how can premarital therapy benefit our relationship and prepare us for marriage?
Well, if we could be very honest, and tonight we're going to be brutally honest about this, right? You get the little, butterflies in your stomach, and, that person asks for you to marry them, and, they look good. We have our representative going on, right? We're put our best foot forward. And then we begin to see some things manifest in the lives of the person we love. When we decide to make the decision to do premarital counseling, That means that you are deciding to come to the table with the person that you have decided to spend the rest of your life with, to discuss your issues, your traumas, your hurts, your brokenness, your preconceived notions, your cognitive distortions. You can see if they have some unmanaged mental health issues, if there's some alcoholism, if there's some drug abuse. And this is the time that we begin to really sit down and discuss expectations, unrealistic expectations, and being real about who we are and how to be the one that we need to be in marriage, right? Because, it's iron sharpened iron and the two become one. And sometimes when we don't do that and have that conversation after marriage, that's because there's been an implosion and the newness of the relationship wears off, and the things that we needed to discuss were overlooked, right? Because everything looked good. He looked good. She looked good, right? And we just know we wanted to be there, right? And so when we come to the table and discuss those issues that will come up, it's so important to do that because it will help to fortify your marriage. Not saying you won't have bumps and bruises. However, you will have a baseline, a foundation to understand where to go from there.
Great. I love that answer. So when two people who have said, okay, this is what we're going to do, we're going to go to premarital therapy, how do you, as a therapist, or let me go back, how do they select a therapist to go to for premarital therapy? I think that's really important. That question was good, but before we even get into the room, right, and we want to know how this will benefit us, we want to know, who should we go? How do we select the person that we should go to have this conversation? Should it be a cousin or auntie that's a therapist we should be going to? Let's say I'm getting married, but my mother is a professional. And should me and my husband be going there? Should we be going somewhere faith-based? How are we selecting the person who should be our therapist?
Okay, so let's back up and talk about this. There's a difference between having a counselor and a therapist. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah.
There is a difference between having a counselor and a therapist. Oftentimes, counseling is used interchangeably, but you
Mm.
don't have to have a license to be a counselor. A pastor can be a counselor, a coach can be a counselor. Okay. And so there's so many different avenues in regards to how to select who you want. Your pastor is, in the realm of counseling, pastoral counseling. But when you talk about therapy, you're coming to a licensed individual who's going to deal, especially if you're like me, faith-based. I have a master's in Christian ministries, I'm an elder, but I'm going to take it on two facets: the faith
Yes.
and the therapy in regards to dealing with those issues that have long held and you haven't talked about. And so you have to decide if you are comfortable seeing a counselor, which I don't see a problem with. A lot of the pastors have been trained. I actually do a training called Prepare Enrich, and I actually train them to be facilitators, and we'll talk about that because it's a whole program that we have, and they get a certification. Or therapy. If you feel that there's some deep issues that probably need to be addressed, or your pastor may say, yeah, I think this is a little deeper, and you probably need to go get a therapist who's licensed. No, you should not be going to someone who is related to you. I'm going to say that again. You should not be going to someone who's related to you because they cannot be objective. Okay. This is serious business. If you talking to me, somebody put that in the chat. This is serious business because it's serious. This
Yes.
is a serious matter, right? And so, because it's a serious matter, we need to approach it in a serious matter. And so, although that would be great, but you want someone who can be subjective, objective, and
Yes.
really cut down to the nitty-gritty of things that need to be addressed. Okay. And so I'm going to tell you right now that I absolutely do not agree with that. Okay. I also work very closely with pastors. They will say, Laquetta, this is beyond my scope here. Yeah, there may be some domestic violence, and you getting in and you still want to marry him. That's a whole nother subject. We probably
Wow.
can get there tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, because it is true.
Yeah. Different conversation,
And
but yeah.
so, yeah, so you really, really need to understand counseling and therapy. I believe that we have people God has innately gifted to be able to lead and give wisdom, and then we have, just like, we have doctors, and there's stigma associated with counseling and therapy, even in our community.
Yes.
And so we also have to address that and talk about how that impacts our ability to even want to step out of our comfort zone and have someone speak to you about those things that you're going to need to discuss in order to go to the next level. Sis, we'll
Yeah.
talk all night, so you better shut me up so you can.
And just to plug in, it's not to disregard any of your family members' skill set, any of their lifelong experience, or their ability to be able to help you navigate this, but you do want to make your partner feel comfortable. When you bring in another family member into the conversation that may get deep, that may uncover them, that may be sensitive subject matters, you don't want to put them at the mercy to a family member, and now they have to leave the space figuring out, well, do they look at me differently?
No, they
Um,
have a role. It's a
yeah,
supportive role. That's
yes,
the difference. It's
yes,
a supportive role,
yes.
not the
And
primary.
so, with that being said, are there any specific assessments or tools used in premarital therapy to help identify potential areas of conflict?
So I have a phenomenal program that I was trained in. It's called Prepare Enrich. Prepare prior to marriage, enrich. How do you continue once you are married? This is a phenomenal assessment tool. It does not assess how compatible you are. Okay. So it's not even about compatibility, However, it does assess through a couple typology, 9 dimensions that revolve around communication. If you see me look to the side, because I got it right here, because I always
Yeah.
miss one of the dimensions: communication, partner style and habits, financial management. See, all these things: leisure activities, sexual expectations, family and friends, spiritual beliefs, relationship roles. And it actually has each individual take this test to assess their thoughts and perceptions of these roles. And it's, they base it on the strength of that person. So this would be a possible relationship strength based on how both of those individual answers. And it's not areas of weakness, it's possible areas of growth. With this tool, it also gives some information in regards to how people handle stress.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Relationship dynamics, idealistic distortions, how, we just want to see the glass half full when it's really half empty, in addition to commitment, abuse. I mean, it's deep. It is deep.
Wow.
Conflict resolution, communication. It goes through all of it. And your temperament. Your temperament. It also measures the couple map. How how ingrained are you in your couple relationship? If it's a flexible relationship, if it's inflexible, and the family map, because we need to know the person we're marrying. How do they show love? How have they experienced love? Do they have a rigid structure? Is it flexible? Is it too flexible? And this is a tool that I also teach pastors, and they're able to be certified in it, and they can give the assessment. But I also use it too. You get workbooks. You could decide if you want to use scripture workbooks that have scripture attached to all of these areas, in addition to secular. It's thebomb.com. And when I tell you, it's better than any other particular assessment I've ever done with couples, because it really, really unearths some areas that you don't want to deal with. And to
Yeah.
be honest, very few couples are able to journey to the end, because it gets real hot, right? And
Wow.
so what I have to do is pedal back and say, no, we got to, it's usually supposed to be 12 weeks. We probably be in there for maybe 24 weeks, right? We got
Mm.
to pedal back. See, because in our community, we don't deal with our trauma. Okay, and then it becomes an issue, and it comes up at inopportune times, and it causes difficulty in how we show love, how we receive love, having unrealistic expectations, having cognitive distorted thinking. And so I gotta work through this, so y'all be working me really hard, right? Because now I got the flip flat. I'll give you some scripture, but now I got to give you the practical tools and tell you, maybe I need to see you individually. Maybe I need to see you
Yeah.
individually, because you know
Answer
what? This
my
stuff
question.
is deep.
Yes.
It's deep.
You're answering my questions because as I'm listening to you list all of these 9 different areas, I'm thinking, and I was going to ask you how long is premarital therapy too. That was going to be the follow-up question. You answered that. So, have you ever had an experience where you started this process with someone and we was like, oh no, we got to halt this all together and we need to do some self-work, right? I want to kind of emphasize on that because one of the things that I've learned through my journey is how valuable it is to do the individual work before you bring somebody else into your world. Before you decide to make that commitment, have you done the internal work and the self exploration to be able to be clear about yourself? Because some of the times who we choose and what we pick is sometimes based off of what we don't even know about ourselves, right? We have not healed. We haven't been freed from certain things. So we thinking that this might be it, but is it really it? So have you ever had an experience where you started this journey and you kind of both parties had to halt and you now had to turn it into, okay, we have to do individual therapy?
Can I be honest? Absolutely. However, because we're all grown, I can't make that determination for them. That would be ideal if we all healed as much as we could, right? And allowed God to repair those broken places. However, the reality of it is we don't. Right?
Mhm.
So we walk into marriage, one with a broken arm, one with a broken leg, and trying to make it through, right? And
Yeah.
so there have been times where, in addition to couples counseling or therapy, I had to see them individually. And some therapists will do that. Some therapists will tell them, okay, you need to do the individual work with other people. It depends on the circumstance. And so for me, I'm never going to refute or dispute if someone says this is who I'm going to marry. That's not my job.
Yeah.
My job is to say, okay, however, let's look at this brokenness. How are we going to be able to heal in order for you all to get past the wedding day and live, right? And so that's my piece of it. My piece is to come from the mental and emotional awareness and understanding what this is all about, because people get so caught up in the bright lights, the fancy dresses, the handsomeness, or the beautifulness, and not understanding we got to live together after this. I want to say something. Don't you know that during COVID, so many marriages were really, really, really on the edge, because now they had to deal with the person 24/7, whereas work and kids were distractions
Yeah.
to the marriage. But now you couldn't leave the house, and you in the house with Bobo and Jojo and
Yeah.
Lala, and you had to deal with them, and you realized that you really didn't like their ways, and you really hadn't dealt with them, but you were able to deal with them because you only seen them 8 hours of the day. That shows that there was no work that was done in understanding what it would really take to make it work.
And to add on to that, and this is just me being transparent in this space. My husband and I were together for a very long time, and we known each other, and we were friends for a very long time. But that didn't mean that we did not still need to do work, because relationships go through phases, right? You have the dating phase, then you confirm that it's a relationship, then you're in that phase, and then let's say y'all live together, that's a different phase. And now let's say you make the commitment of marriage, that's a different phase. And so to say, because you've known a person for X amount of years and you don't need to still take this step, you would be remiss not to, because in that space, there's still some things that that therapist or that counselor will be able to bring up that you and that person probably never really had a deep conversation about. I don't know what you say to that, but I think it's
No, but here's the thing. You know of that person what they decide to show you and expose to you. But when crisis hits your home, right? When
yeah.
death hits your home, when someone loses a job, when stress overwhelms you, how do you deal now? How are you able to deal?
Yeah.
How is your spouse or your significant other able to deal? When it's copacetic, it looks good, but you need to learn how people deal under stress, how people deal with stress, how they communicate, what they have been exposed to. See, we have developed core beliefs based upon what we've seen, what we felt, what we taste, what we touch. If it was a spiritual conversation, we would say our portals, right? But
Right.
this is really about our experiences and whether our parents or whoever raised us told us this is how it's supposed to go, or implicitly we were shown, we begin to mimic that and we begin to develop a foundational system of how things are supposed to go, how we should see people, how people should see us, and it impacts our ability to really love to the fullest level. I don't think in our culture we have embraced love the way we needed to. We know what God says about love. We know that favorite verse that everybody likes to quote during the wedding: love is patient, love is kind, love is
Yes.
this. What does that really mean? Stop
It
it.
sounds good.
Let's really peel this apart. And so I think understanding what love is, what we're looking for, what's realistic expectations, what's unrealistic. Some of us got daddy issues and we're looking for the spouse to fulfill that. Some of us got mama's issues and we're looking for the spouse to fulfill that, and it causes an implosion.
Yeah. This is good. This is so good. And one of the things I've learned through my educational journey is understanding people's their family history and their background and what I ain't gonna get you started about that. And how what love how love was shown to them. Did their mother hug them? Did their mother tell them, you are great, you could do great things? And I'm learning that when you get married and you have a partner who did not have some of these experiences as they grew up, and then when they show up in a relationship and they don't necessarily know how to communicate, they aren't really affectionate, they're not romantic, or some of these things, because they did not see it, they didn't live it, they don't really understand it. And it's not even that they don't want to be that person, because sometimes they want to be that, but they didn't get that. And so I believe in these spaces of premarital counseling or therapy, you get to unearth that and you get to learn their styles of love, their love language.
Absolutely. There are love languages. However, some of us don't even know what language we have to love. One thing about life that we need to really undergird and understand. And this is why I am like an intergenerational trauma disruptor.
Mm, yeah.
Trauma can be passed down from generation to generation.
Mm,
Okay? And oftentimes, trauma for me is not the same for you, right?
yeah.
Because it is subjective. And oftentimes, a lot, especially in our culture, we have unresolved trauma. We have unhealed issues of abandonment, rejection, betrayal, right? This stuff runs deep. And let's put it out there, since we being honest today, we even have some undiagnosed mental health issues
Oh,
that
this is
we
good.
just excused away.
Yeah.
Okay? And all of a sudden, these things get triggered in the relationship. And you don't know that you have a whole combusted individual that's ready to pop off because of something you said that you didn't even know that was triggering. But because we didn't do the work, and I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but it could be doable. right? In order to know, all right, instead of me wanting to knock him out, knock her out, maybe I do need to pray. Maybe I do need to use the practical strategies that they taught me in counseling, in therapy, to be able to dismantle the implosion, to dismantle even our emotional immaturity. Immaturity,
It's so
emotional immaturity.
it's so funny you said that. So in my pastime, and you probably do this too, and so many other therapists, I watch a lot of shows about people who are living with diagnoses, and I study behaviors and things. And so I happened to be watching an episode last night on a man who is now living on death row because he was has been untreated and undiagnosed for schizophrenia. So his wife told him, hey, I think you have bipolar. Something isn't right. And she went and took him and she checked him in. He went to a facility in Texas. This is happened in Texas, but the facility let him out immediately. And so he was talking to the reporter, and he said that I felt like she was taunting me. I was mad at her for saying that something was wrong with me. I just felt tormented by her. So not only did he kill his wife, but he killed one of her other children because he went into psychosis. And so his family had a history of mental health issues. And so he knew something was wrong. His mother knew something was wrong, but because of the culture and the household that they grew up, she didn't want to get him taken care of as a child because of the stigma that will follow it. So this is kind of like even a PSA while we're even having this conversation about how important it is to deal with and address the possible signs of a mental health diagnosis. It's not to say that something is wrong with you. And we said this on Monday. Therapy isn't what's wrong with you, it's what's right with you, right? You want to be in a healthy place, even when you're thinking about marriage. And so, with that being said, my next question is, how can post-marital therapy strengthen a relationship and help us navigate through possible conflicts, changes that arise after marriage?
So I
Because
want
we
to
got,
address the first part of what you said. I'm going to go right into your question. You're
yeah,
absolutely right. And listen, we all got issues. Some of us got some undiagnosed issues, and some of us are just living with it, right? You could be depressed, but depression is not diagnosable until it begins to impact your daily living skills. Don't be afraid of this. Would you be afraid if your heart was malfunctioning or you was having chest pains? And so people can still get married and have healthy relationships because we all have something. It's what you have decided you can deal with. But you need to be able to be honest and, with these things prior to marriage. And if you didn't, hope is still not lost. And so
yes,
counseling can come into play because oftentimes, especially when you're trying to become one, when you're trying to understand what submission is. And I'm not saying, oh, you beneath me and I'm above you,
right,
but being drinking from each other's strengths and not each other's weaknesses. That's the best way I can describe submission. Drinking from each other's strengths and not each other's weaknesses, right? And being able to understand and love one another to a point to catapult him. Oftentimes, crisis, oftentimes situations that you've never ever planned for may come. And communication is an issue. Communication, conflict resolution, these are some things that you may want to address ongoing. And oftentimes it becomes so problematic when you go to bed angry, when you staying angry for days, right? When you growling at one another, when your behavior is starting to impact the kids, don't let you start using your hands to be able to express how you feel. In marriage, you're going to have to journey together. And when we say those vows, you looking all cute. You need to understand what you're saying. That means that you are deciding to do the work. And so oftentimes I get couples that want to come in. Maybe they need to reinvigorate, reset. They may have had situations in their family, that may have impacted their marital life and needing to get back on track with that. And so it will really strengthen your ability to continue to journey.
I and I want everybody to really hear everything that you're saying because it's not. wanting to have the wedding day is one part, but understanding that the actual work that you have, that you are deciding to do for a lifetime, is really
Can you
important.
say that again, sis? Actual work you're deciding to do. Did
Yeah.
y'all hear her? The work is not over. Don't let you start having a calling on your life. Can they handle it? Can you handle theirs?
Wow.
Come on, keep going.
You get ready to take it because that is important, right? And these are the things that you unpack during premarital therapy. You understand whether or not he's dealing with some ego issues. He's dealing with insecurities. He has not found himself. And so, because you're coming into this space with a clear identity, and I will say this, and I thank God for my husband and I love him. And my husband, he doesn't do all of this stuff, right? But he's able to hear me what I need and support me and just show up when I need him to show up and not feel like it's taking away from who he is in the home, who
Come
he
on.
is as a man, right? And that's also another thing with premarital
No
understanding
competition.
no
We're a
competition
team.
and understanding roles. I mean, this day and age, we're a little modern. We more modern with things, right? We're not looking at things from the woman have to cook and clean and stay in the house. Everybody can do everything together, but understanding and respecting who we are in this space and communicating about what our needs are, what are our expectations. And I think those things are so vital. And so I am encouraging you, and Dr. Solomon is encouraging everyone who is tuning in tonight, that if you are getting ready to take this step and you are deciding to take this step, to consider having a conversation with a third party, whether it's a counselor or a therapist, to unpack the things that you need to, so when you get into this marriage, that it is happy, you are whole, it's flourishing. And we didn't say it wasn't going to be without challenges.
No, and if you're married and you're going through, there's still help, right? Because the unpacking and unpeeling is a process. The biologically we change every 7 years, right? And so
Yeah.
because of that, there's some things that may need to be addressed now. And if you didn't do the premarital work, have no fear. There's
Yeah.
still opportunity to get where you need to go in order for you to flourish. You need someone who's on the same page as you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, right? And in this day and age, men and women, don't don't water down yourself in order to be a part of a unit that will not appreciate the uniqueness that God has made you to be, right? And so we tapped on it, but are they able to pour in you? Are they able to understand your goals, your predestined your predestined purpose? And
Yeah.
so these are the things that we have to really, really discuss and understand and be equipped to deal with, going forward in order for us to be able to be healthy and happy. See, it's statistically speaking, they already given us a bad rap. Right? They already said that black marriages, black and brown marriages, they will never work. They
Yeah.
will never last. Here's the thing. I had to remember we were on social media. That's why I stopped. Here's the thing. We were not taught to have healthy communication, right? We had to go back and learn how to have healthy communications. It's okay to emote. It's okay to expose the inner you. Into me I see. That's intimacy. Not just physical, but
Yeah.
into me I see. And
Yeah.
understanding that this is part of the overall function of a happy family unit and a happy marriage and a happy couple life.
And I agree. That's one of the things that even after being married, I said to my husband, I said, I think it's important that we quarterly sit down and we talk to someone, because as you stated, people change. You don't necessarily stay the same person that you married a year ago, 2 years ago, 7 years, or 10 years, right? You are constantly doing the work to love and understand the person where they have grown and developed. And
Mhm.
so, with that being said, I want to know what resources you have for those who are in the premarital stage, marriage, even a dating, right? Because maybe we want to understand some things before we want to prepare ourselves before we even get to that point. Because some of us are not even ready, right, to talk about marriage. We have some work to do. So can you give us resources to address 3 areas?
Did y'all see how she just set me up? This is a multi-power pack question. She done asked me for resources for the single and waiting, the ones that's been taken and getting ready to get married, and those that are married. So resources. Number one, when you're doing this work, you cannot journey this alone. This is not a self-help type of area, okay?
Yeah.
This is not a self-help type of area. And so understanding that you have to get you a supportive cast. That's number one, right? Number two, resources that are tangible. There's some books that are out there that will help you to understand the need to deal and heal in order to be healthy. I do have.
Right. If you don't have them on you, you can say the ones you have, and additional ones we could kind of put them in a link on the Facebook as well.
No, because there's about 4 or 5, and I need to get the names of it.
Okay.
And so I want to give you those as well. Also, if you're really, really serious about doing the work, you got to be self-aware. I would say, just like we have checkups physically, we need to have checkups every year for our mental health and our emotional health. Find you a good counselor, life coach, therapist to be able to help you determine if you're living the best version of your God given life that He desired for you to be, and also to be able to deal with those areas that are unhealed. I am having a boot camp for couples coming up soon. I am having also some sessions for the singles as well. And I'm kind of busy right now with my mentoring program, but I am gonna start a. I don't really see a lot of people in private practice because honestly, I want to be honest with you, I really don't have the time. And so, however, I will be doing group sessions, like master classes as well. I also have some connections with other phenomenal therapists that will be able to help navigate you. If you come to me for marital or premarital counseling, I'm using the Prepare Enrich curriculum. You get a workbook, you get a test. It's phenomenal. So that's what I use. I use it for my boot camp. I use it also for my premarital couples as well.
Thank you so much. And so you already kind of said it, but can you let us know where to follow you? It's going to pop up on the screen as well.
Don't follow
Where,
me. I'm just playing.
where can we find you?
I'm hiding right now, okay? I'm hiding. However, I just started my I moved everything because I have a 501c3 and my elevated perspective. It's Dr. Laquetta Solomon. Yeah, you meant to just put it up there. So I have a Facebook page. I also have a website, and I think it's www. He has it somewhere. www.laquettasolomon.com / Oh, he put it up there. There it is. There you will find trainings, my business phone number, and just stay tuned. We're getting ready to do some phenomenal things. But right now, I have 19 mentees, and so they're with me for 6 months. So that takes a lot of my time. However, we're going to be doing some things in regards to having some conferences as well to be able to deal with the family unit, so we can heal and be healthy and eradicate intergenerational trauma and have healthy relationships, and that's so important to me.
I am so excited about all that you're doing. Please make sure that you even include me into whatever, however I can show up and support the work that you're doing. So before we close, do you have any closing statement or anything that you want to leave our viewers with before we end tonight?
I'm getting ready to write a book, and the title of my book I want to leave with you because it's so imperative that you understand. In order to heal, you got to deal.
Mm.
And in order to have healthy relationships, you have to be able to acknowledge those areas of abandonment, betrayal, rejection that have really, really impacted the way you see yourself, the way you see others, the way you see the world, and the way you see God. And that is so important as you begin. We are not meant to be alone. So don't allow your issues to discount and discredit your ability to love, show love, and be loved. But understand that once you get on the right road of healthy living
Mhm.
and really understand the right words to say, it will strengthen you from the inside out. This
Yeah.
is a work that is continuous, and we are always ever developing, right? And understanding that you have to be patient with yourself and patient with those that you are loving. We can do this, y'all.
Yeah.
We can make healthy relationships a thing in our communities. Let's turn the tide.
Yeah.
Let's turn the statistics and let them know, no, we're healing and we're dealing. We know how to be emotionally available, no
Yeah.
longer emotionally unavailable. And so in order to heal, you got to deal. And so let's deal, let's be healthy, let's love one another, and let's lift each other up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr.
Love you.
And yes, we will talk soon, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Take.
Likewise. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for.
I love this conversation, and I love how she closed it. I'm looking forward to the book myself. In order to heal, you have to deal. I don't know if you heard that, but I'll say it one more time. In order to heal, you have to deal. And what dealing looks like for everybody, it looks differently. So please reach out to Dr. Solomon for her services, for her upcoming programs, all the work that she is doing in the community. She's actually based out in Long Island, but she works throughout New York City. So please reach out to her. Please join me tomorrow night. Thursday night, I am super excited about this conversation because not only are we talking to a professional, we will be talking to a survivor, right? We want to hear from a person who's actually living and dealing with mental health and has been dealing with it and journeying with it. And so tomorrow we are talking, the topic is I am my brother's keeper. And so please join us tomorrow and have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in.